Here I brought some games that are won by simple and easy to learn tricks. Now, if you look at this first game, which side do you think has a stronger position? Red, with the short range but very powerful artillery, or blue with that longer range but less powerful artillery? Also, blue has this very nice forest ahead of him, but red basically gets to choose which side he wants to fight on. That is the important thing. Now, as you see, blue has already split his armies on the two sides of this hill. Now, he could withdraw one of these flanks in the opening turns, but that will take some time, while red is positioned so that he can choose instantly which side he wants to have the fight on. And as we play this game, you can see that red will choose the left side of this hill, because, as you can see, blue's artillery cannot shoot over this hill. So red wants to have a fight where he is the only one who can use the artillery. Also, blue has a lot more cavalry, but now they are trying to withdraw their cavalry on the right flank, because they realize that it will probably be an empty flank where they could easily ambush the artillery from. So the troops are moving to their places. Now red gets into position, and red immediately starts to shoot at these units in the forest. Now, you don't usually want to fire into the forest, but in this case, first of all, there's nothing else to shoot at really, and second of all, if you paid attention in the terrain guide, you know that every tile of forest reduces the artillery damage by about 20%. So if the infantry stands in the very first tile, they will only get a 20% reduction to the artillery damage. Well, basically they get full damage, pretty much, kinda. But so blue's cavalry actually tries to flank red's artillery very soon. However, red will just deploy their garrisons to fend off the cavalry charge, while they also move the line infantry in to the guard's place. So if the cavalry was to like suddenly move like this way and then down this way, if red commits their guards over here, then they will be like a second line of infantry ready to be deployed. Also, the reason why red deploys their guards and not the line infantry is because the guards are better at melee combat, while they also have more organization, so they can basically fight longer and deal more damage to cavalry in a melee fight. So surely enough, let's play this game out. Blue tries to charge, but then they meet the guards and they pull back. Now, red kinda left their cavalry over here for some reason, and so blue will try to like take it, but red moves out quickly enough to avoid that. And they also seem to be making some attempts at flanking the enemy. As you can see, while red has very few cavalry units, they actually distribute them very nicely, so the enemy has to pay attention at all sides at all times. You see, they will have 3 units out of formation just to try to chase down this single cavalry unit that is like way faster than them, and this cavalry unit will be here at the cannons in no time, you will see. Also, red moves their artillery closer. That is because probably even if you shoot from this position or this position, you will still deal the mid-range modifier damage, but even within the mid-range or the long range or the close range, it still matters how close you are to your enemy within that range. You will still deal more damage if you are closer to your enemy. And so because blue seems unwilling to commit to an open fight right now, red moves their artillery closer to deal more damage on the long term overall. And let's keep watching this battle. Blue just moves around with their cavalry casually, and now this heavy cavalry arrives with the artillery. Let's see how much damage it will deal. It actually gets the enemy artillery almost fully destroyed, but it gets taken out at the last second, so it couldn't finish the mission. However, now that blue moved their large cavalry force out of the defense of the cannons, red now utilizes their second cavalry unit to try to destroy the remains of the cannons. They will also flank with the other lancer from the north. And watch this game. Red's artillery actually destroys the cannons before the cavalry could get there. But essentially, this cavalry kinda stops at the cannons and then goes straight forward because they don't want to die to the infantry. So they actually bypass the infantry and they turn around and I guess fall back. But now the lancer comes in and there is no more infantry in their way, so they will take out the cannon. But also look at this. Red had their guards over here some turns ago, but to deal with the cavalry charge, they once again deploy their guards on the defense. However, from this point on, you will see while Red had initially deployed their guards on this side in front of the line infantry, just in a few more turns. In the meanwhile, the cannon gets disabled, blue no longer has any artillery. So now the longer they delay the decisive battle, the worse their chances will get. But blue still believes in their cavalry, so they will not charge on the front. However, red might take the initiation. Let's wait for a bit more. Blue did realize that they should stand further back to take less damage from the artillery. But now red will make a very clever move eventually. That after all this fighting and all this slight lead building up for red will actually decide the battle. So red moves back their guards at the front, but now he only stops for a turn before charging straight head on against the damaged line infantry. Now you might see that yeah, the red does kinda match the numbers on this very specific part of the front, but once these join the fight, red will surely lose, right? Well, kinda, but no. So if you look at this, as soon as red's guards arrive, they will deal a charge damage. Now charge damage isn't exclusive to cavalry. Infantry can also deal charge damage as long as they charge towards the enemy for at least half of a turn. Second of all, guards are really great at melee. Infantry could probably shoot them down if they manage to encircle the guards somehow. But the forest reduces the impact of all projectiles, including the shots from the guns. So any battle in the forest will be decided in the melee fight. And the red has the better units for this purpose. Plus, they have the artillery advantage. Red can still shoot at blue's units while they're also fighting with some other units. As you will see, that is what red will exactly do, but first of all, they need to survive this very threatening cavalry charge from behind. They will just pull their troops together while also destroying blue with their own artillery, hoping to force the cavalry to retreat. I also overlaid the fight in the forest because these will go on simultaneously. So look at that. Red routs some of blue's units in the forest, but now they are very badly encircled. However, look how much orc blue's cavalry lost due to the artillery and the infantry, while they didn't really deal any significant damage. If red now manages to shoot down blue's fleeing cavalry, they will manage to disable blue's cavalry for the rest of the game basically. And so look at this. Red continues with the aggressive push in the forest. They actually see how bad the situation looks, but they first want to take out these very badly damaged units that blue has, so that they can have better odds on the long term. And also, blue gets their cavalry destroyed so badly that red is now confident to move the rest of their garrison into the forest, where they are the most needed now. And so look at this. Red is now just surrounding blue. Plus the artillery comes in as a clutch, slowly wearing down blue's remaining units, and at this point red's victory is sealed in. We can watch this for a couple more turns, but overall you can see how red has won the battle. Now there's like one more clever trick I want to show in this battle, and that is regarding to these fleeing troops. Now red wants to catch up to these troops, but they keep retreating. Eventually you move forward faster than you move backward, so they will catch up. But red has this cavalry unit in the meanwhile, and they will use it very smartly. They will perform this very smart maneuver to disable the movement of blue's troops. Look, they just flank behind blue, and they will stop their movement. They actually sandwich in the units, or if you want to use some ancient terminology, they actually use the hammer and anvil maneuver. And blue is just helpless at this point. So actually let's move on to the second battle, because this is won at this point. And so take a look at this battle. Now red seems to be the same player because they seem to have the same unit composition, while blue, although he probably isn't ECU, he seems to have the ECU build with some variations. 4 Hobbitsen and only 1 cavalry. Now we had to think about what moves would lead each side to a favorable combat for them. And surely enough, red played this game after the last, so they will very confidently move their guards into this forest, knowing how well a forest battle went for them in the last game, while blue is slowly moving forth, occupying the hill, actually going a bit past it later on. And they just start bombarding red's guards for now, but they are deep in the forest, so they don't actually get dealt that much damage. But in the meanwhile, red uses this time of stalemate to move their cavalry into a threatening position. Let's gain the manage to disable their enemy's artillery with only the cavalry, so they might try to do this once again. In the meanwhile, red kinda moves their artillery. I guess that they want to try to pick on one of blue's artillery to slowly wear them down, but not sure if it will work out in their favor yet because they are still outnumbered, at least in the artillery fight. But let's continue on with the game. And blue just tries to very early commit against the enemy cavalry charge. It could be very bad on the endgame, but blue has still so many units around his artillery that it is going to be fine. And so if I continue, we see how red tries to get to blue's artillery, but they don't really deal that much damage. They did weaken it, that's for sure, but they couldn't kill it and they died in the process. So it's not the best of starts for red. And also look at their guards, because they have been shot at for at least 10 turns. They are now very weak. They were targeted by 4 artilleries for like 10 turns or so. All units would break under this pressure, but the forest actually helps them. And in a way, yeah, red is kinda weakened, but they actually have most of their manpower. See, that's the green bar. And also they managed to buy time for their cavalry to become active in the battlefield. But so now red is actually very daringly commits their artillery fort. They are outnumbered in the artillery, so why would they move their artillery forward? As you will see, it has to do with something very simple. Look, they still move on and red's artillery stops on this house. Now, if you shoot out of a building, you still damage the same to an enemy unit. But if they try to shoot at you, because you are in a house, you will actually get that minus 80% to the damage. So red, while they are outnumbered by artillery, they manage to get a position where their artillery is practically invulnerable. And this is a key to the rest of the battle. Look, Red's cavalry is kinda just running up and down, hoping to inflict some damages here and there. But actually the heavy cavalry is slower than the lancer, so they will get pinned eventually. Red is still doing alright-ish. They will now use this opportunity to like charge at some of Blue's artillery. And it did work. They did disable one of Blue's artillery, and if you look at this right now, Red has 3 active artilleries, Blue has 2 because one of them is destroyed and one of them is pulled back behind the hill to regenerate over time. And so Blue makes a foundationally good move over here, which is the idea that if Red has their artillery so stupidly close to the enemy, then they can just simply charge straight at them. And surely enough, this seems to be very effective. However, the Hobbiton, unlike the regular cannon, can move very quickly. And so Red will just pull them back while they mobilize their garrisons. And actually, these garrisons were way too far away. You want to have them closer to your artillery. And also, Red's Lancer has also died. But now this looks kinda good for Red, I would say so. Even if they failed in most of their cavalry attacks, they did disable, well, practically 2 artilleries. Plus, they regained their first cavalry to be lost, and they can also use it later on. Now, as you see, Red is now on the front with their guards, and Blue is ready to come with more on the right, interestingly. Now Red will pull back because they want to delay the fight as much as possible now, because they have the advantage in the artillery now. But they also daringly move further on the left at the same time, trying to force the enemy to move further units over there. But they did like it more when they were further back in the forest and they got damaged less by artillery, so they will pull back once again. And now we get to see a short battle of attrition, but Blue doesn't really like this, so they eventually commit on the right flank. It will take some more turns, but now everything is together, and yeah, look at this. Blue has higher quality troops because they have 1 more guard, and they also have more line infantry on the right, so in theory they could crush Red's defense there. That is why Red will try to use their artillery as much as possible to weaken this imminent attack on the right flank. Look at this. For some reason, Blue just wants to keep shooting right in between these 2 artilleries to damage both of them at the same time, instead of focusing at the main part of this battle, the main confrontation. And so as we play this on, Blue eventually stalls because they got that so much damage that they lost confidence in the charge. And so they bring in further reinforcements. And so they even put the rest of their line. But look at Red, because Red has managed to maneuver behind 1 more of Blue's artillery. And look, they are destroying that. And so now Red's long-term strategy is sealed in at this moment. They will just destroy the remains of Blue's artillery and then try to win in an atrocious fight. That will be Red's plan forward on. And Red actually very quickly reacted to the danger of these light infantry units over here. And he very quickly moved his cavalry away straight at the next one. Blue's garrisons are pretty terrible right now, so Red is able to get away with a bunch of shenanigans. Also, Blue's cavalry is extremely inactive because they have been just chasing down the fleeing units of Red's heavy cavalry, and that has been a terrible move in my opinion, because Blue basically withdrew their only cavalry unit from the battle, while it was the most important to have a cavalry unit. And so now Red just kinda did some damage to the artillery, but they are smart now. They getting smart, so they immediately withdrew as soon as the enemy could start hitting on them. And this way, they did deal some damage to the artillery, but they also survived. And look at this, now red tries to just destroy the fleeing artillery, and they actually kinda managed to do that. Look at that, and I mean kinda, maybe the next turn, but look at this first. Because now there is a big engagement both on the right flank and in the left flank. Now, what do you think red should do right now? Well, obviously it isn't good to have your troops in that so loose formation whenever you're about to go into a frontal fight. So you will see red pulling their troops back kinda. And also, are you sure that red wants to commit their guards in the forest right now? They did win a battle by doing that, but now they are facing full health units and also a fellow guard unit as their enemy. Plus, last time red was able to use their artillery to slowly wear down blue's units in the forest, even once the confrontation began. But this time I assume that red would use their artillery to wear down blue's much more imminent right side attack. And so, as you watch, even though that while red will try to play aggressive at first, they will soon see the casualties and decide to pull back from the forest, delaying the decisive moment on the left, because red's reasoning goes as the same, that if they manage to win a decisive battle on the right, then they could then move their troops over to the left and deal with the enemy over there. They just need to delay the enemy from reaching their artillery. That's the only important thing for them for now. And this is probably one of the first examples I showed of the use of the defeat in detail strategy, which does really fit the time period of this game, being the Napoleonic Wars and the years afterwards. And so on with the battle, we see how blue has realized how strong they are on the left side, and they just go in full on aggressive mode. And actually also red did pull back their Hobbiton. That was a very smart thing, because they knew that eventually they would be in a bad position there. And now, interestingly enough, blue just hates their artillery. Apparently, even if they bring 4 of them, they hate them because they don't care about their safety. Look at how easily red will destroy this Hobbiton over here. But also, I don't really want to focus on a single cavalry when there is this going on the right. I mean, look at this right now. Who do you think has the better position? I would say that red does, even though that this troop is about to die over here. Because look, this artillery can basically fire and hit all 3 of these blue units over here. Also, this guard can also hit all 3 of these units over here, and they shoot like over here kinda. This can hit 2 units. This can hit probably also 2 units if they shoot at the right angle. So I believe that, especially if this unit will arrive on the right flank, then red will win this confrontation, even though that they are outnumbered, just because blue positioned their units very badly over here. And so let's continue on with the battle. You can see what I'm talking about, and also red could have just assaulted this artillery like straight head on, but they know that blue will just try to close their distance off with the line infantry, so red actually moves to the other side of the artillery to gain a little distance over the line infantry, and this way they will be able to damage the artillery longer before they are forced to withdraw. Also, let's look back at this battle. Now, I did not expect blue's infantry to crush 2 of red units this hard. But once again, they are still in one pack. If red shoots at them, they still dare damage to 3 of them at the same time. So, let's see if I'm right about my prediction that red can win this battle easily. Now, blue made another mistake. They chased after a fleeing unit instead of fighting in this very important fight Plus, they still haven't done anything about their blob. Being a blob is terrible when you're getting shot at. And so now, on the far left, blue kinda makes the same problem, although it's way less significant. Over here, while red is in a bad position, they can still shoot at 2 or 3 of blue's units, although blue is now assaulting red's artillery. The question is that even if red might lose their artillery, have they been able to use it for long enough that they already contributed enough to this game? And the answer is, I believe that yes, they have. Because look at this now, just in a few turns, blue's very prominent attack turned into a disaster. Red is now winning absolutely. At the same time, red has disabled blue's last standing artillery. From this point on, the attritional fight can only benefit red, unless they make a dumb mistake. But this red guy seems to be a nice player, so let's see how they win this game. You can see them just ganging up on one unit over there. At the same time, they seem to be losing their artillery though. Plus now they had to withdraw so far back from the forest. They used to be over here, now they are all the way back over here behind their own artillery. This is nuts. But once again, red's daring plan to win the battle in detail style worked out actually very well, because now blue's last remaining weakened units pulled back, and red is like, I could chase after you, but I would rather try to protect my artillery. So they will pull back on the left flank, and they will use their numbers to defeat blue's remaining units. Look at this. Even if blue's lancer managed to disable one of red's infantry, and even if they managed to regain control over one artillery, red is still favored in this battle. Look at this, red is now pushing back blue's vanguard. And even though that blue's units are now kinda stronger than previous, and now they are ready to rejoin the battle, there is nothing to fight in front of them, because red already pulled back so far away, they cannot reach the site of the confrontation before it will be over. So look, red has managed to fend off the attack on the left. So what will they do next? Now they will pull their units over to the right. They just keep going back and forth, winning here, winning there. Not winning too much at a time, but they will win the battle bit by bit. Plus, their previous disabled units are now rejoining the fight over here. They are going south, fresh and ready for the fight. Now one thing to note is how the battle was way closer to red's side of the map than to blue's. So here is one more defender advantage when you are defending close to your initial start of the battle. Your units will rejoin the battle quicker, and this just fits into this tactic perfectly. Look at this, going back and forth, and even though that blue's menacing sniper like lancer got another kill, red's artillery will now take care of blue's cavalry for good. Look at that, they damaged the lancer so much so that it will be unusable for further attacks. And in the meanwhile, it's a very strange move from red, I would say, that they kinda stayed there with their guards, but it does buy time and they will be winning in the long term, so it's fine, I guess. Look, they just turned around and now they are going to use the hammer and anvil on the sandwich tactics on blue, and look at them, red is winning. This battle is just like so nice. 2 turns ago, red was fighting 2 units at the same time with their guards, and now they have 4 units encircling the last remaining unit over there. and they survived. Plus, there's this southern flank over here now. And they will just actually pull back some of these units trying to trap in those guards. They will pull them back and react against this threatening line over there. Plus, we are back in the forest, and Red might withdraw or not, I don't know yet, but I know that they are winning on the front. This is a very beautiful long battle. Long battles can be very boring with a bunch of stalling, but this is a very beautiful, iterational, long-lasting battle. I think it was like 50 some turns, but we are at the end already, so let's just continue with some of the last final moves. You see how the Lancer gets used by Red, and once Blue's Lancer arrives, it will get kind of like turned around to fend off against Blue's Lancer to hold him in place until the light infantry kills the remains of the Blue Lancer unit. Plus, the battle is now about to be won. Blue has one more attack that could go somewhere, and that's on the left. However, as we see, that will also get dealt with very shortly. And at this time we can actually stop with this battle. It was beautiful, it was amazing, it had everything, but we can up this. And this battle is a huge battle, although it is shorter than the rest of the battles, but it is a beautiful battle. It is an extreme battle. Now, the amazing thing about this battle is that the red player has less ALO than the blue player, plus they have less artillery, less infantry, however they get to defend. This was played in a scenario server where there is a campaign going on, there are long runs of recruitment and deployment and over the map tactics, and this is a defending battle where red tries to hold their river crossing from blue. And so we have seen red employ the defeat in detail tactic previously in the previous game. Even though that they have over 4,000 less power in this battle, they might be able to win somehow. Can you guess how? It looks really weird at first, but just as an explanation, but just to explain some stuff, this on the right is a big blob of cavalry, plus 2 light infantries. Now what will they do? Let's see. At the same time, red moves their cavalry into a very unusual position. They move them into the village. Now why would they do that, you think? Well, red is fighting against a cannon disadvantage. Now red has only 4 artilleries, while green has 4 of these 12 pounders and 1 of these horse artilleries. So red's thinking goes the same as, first of all, I will put my artillery into the buildings so that they may get that less damage, plus I kinda feel like that the enemy might want to later on have some cavalry advancements, possibly over here, because if they manage to like break through like here, that would be an amazing route to red's artillery. So red basically positioned their artillery on a future front line, but they are on buildings, which means that they are kinda immune to artillery fire. That they basically get a very strong position without needing to hide behind a hill or something. At the same time, red's cavalry on the right will very soon, over here, you see, they set up right behind the hill. Now I believe that red was aware that they couldn't win a full-on fight with blue's units over here. So instead, they just wanted to force blue to deploy as much troops as possible on the right flank, and that in the future they would try to withdraw back into their center, because you can guess, just looking at how uncommitted red's troops are, that red is probably waiting for blue to commit their troops first before coming up with their own plan, and the defense in detail strategy. And so we can see how the front line kinda gets moved. Now as you see, blue's cavalry moves past the crossing point, so now red will position their cavalry further down to later engage blue's cavalry, possibly like over here, and they will replace the cavalry with some line infantries. And now as blue is crossing the river on the right, red will withdraw their cavalry, and you can see how some of their line infantry gets like slowly gets behind. They will get some fire shot at them, but they will be fine. And look at this. Now the battle formation starts to formalize on both sides. As you see, for some reason, red puts their guard behind this hill, possibly as garrisons against future enemy attacks on their artillery, which is a principled move. They seem to have a very strong position over here on these houses, but now they have their first threat against them. Plus, there is a massive force on their doorstep down over here. And to make it even worse, they had to abandon all this territory. And I'm not sure if they can defend this river line, but if they do, that would be amazing. But they are outnumbered, so that is unlikely. They will have to make commitments on some fronts while pulling troops away from different fronts if they want to win this battle. So, let's see. Now, blue's infantry is about to cross the river, and this is the moment where red deploys their formerly garrisoned guards to the river line to try to hold back blue's infantry, because you know, guards are amazing at melee. When you cross the river, you are forced into like a melee, so red will do amazing there. Also, look where all the cavalry is going. That red had on the right. Red is committing all of their cavalry on the south, hoping to completely eliminate this threat over here. But so blue isn't stupid either. They will only strike once they have multiple threats going on, and surely enough, they are slowly crossing the river. However, red's guards are very quick to punish blue. And now, I'm not sure exactly why blue chose this exact moment to advance on the south, because red is kinda chilling right now, to be fair. But regardless, blue is now charging through all these lands. But you can see how they are once again squeezed into a blob, and how red's artillery is just able to shoot at everyone inside that blob. And now as red's cavalry commits, they crash into blue's cavalry and they completely destroy them. Look, they have already routed many troops from blue, and 2 of them completely disappeared from the map because they got past the border over here. And this cavalry battle is really important, but let's just quickly look at the other parts of this front, because so much is going on right now. So first of all, in this part, blue has another cavalry attack, but red was quick enough to stop them. As you will see in just a single turn, these will clash, halting the cavalry charge, giving time for the infantry to like flank the cavalry units. These units are also unwilling to engage, while these try to rush to the help of their main assault, as so are these, but these are fighting against a severe artillery barrage. And over here on the right, this is a terrible position for red. They are winning in small victories. Look, they managed to rout some of blue's troops, but they are being worn down very severely. This guard will try to reach the cannon, but they will die to cannon fire regardless. Red's troops are getting worn down, and blue has still so many troops on the right. Red is actively losing here. Let's watch the battle. Red disables a few more of Blue's cavalry before pulling back. Now, as I said, they will stop the cavalry charge, and now they are just shooting through this cavalry. Once again, there is some micro damage going on. This infantry can shoot at all of these cavalry units, and at the same time, Red is slowly losing on the right. But now, Blue actually managed to get so many troops so close to Red's artillery. So Red will now pull this artillery back eventually and get some reinforcements back there. At the same time, Red tries to retreat with their cavalry, but actually got kinda stung by these guards a bit, so that they are very worn down. Nevertheless, they are going to get active somewhere else. Red had a decisive victory on this front. Now they are having a decisive victory on this front because now their amazing cavalry units also arrived to this front. Red will now pull their cavalry on the right eventually and have one more decisive victory there. Look, Blue is already retreating. They are fearing the force of Red's cavalry. Blue would now like to be able to just withdraw behind the rivers and wait until his troop rejoin the fight to have a second assault. But Red is not letting it. Red is now on the offense with their cavalry, sorry. And just like that, they give no rest to Blue's units. They destroy them while they are in a very weak position. They completely bypass this unit in the town, hoping to get to the artillery in time. And before they could, Blue resigned, and now I can reveal that I was the Red player in all these games. And this was such an amazing victory, and actually all these matches were so amazing. I hope some of these may help, but also they were just like way too cool for me not to show off with them.